Something is deeply wrong with how schools are supporting our kids. Classrooms are overcrowded, creativity is being pushed aside for test scores, and recess, which was once essential, is now being treated like a reward. Our children are burning out, they're acting out, and they're falling apart emotionally, which is not their fault. In this video, I'm going to break down the real reason why your child is struggling with emotional resilience and what every parent needs to understand about their children in order to protect their well-being. I'm Lisa, a child behavior expert and a parent coach. I have over a decade of experience as a pediatric occupational therapist. I help parents feel empowered in raising a confident and resilient child through science-backed strategies. I help to give you the tools and knowledge to feel confident in supporting your child's development. So we are watching an entire generation of kids struggle with coping with everyday challenges. At schools, teachers are reporting that they're noticing an increase in behaviors, difficulties focusing, and emotional outbursts. But the issue here is that we are not asking the question, why? Why are our kids behaving in this way? What is actually going on? The truth is, our kids are being pushed to perform in environments that are not suitable for their development. And the worst part, when our kids start to act out, they become emotionally dysregulated, they're being labeled as the difficult child, the troublemaker of the classroom. With these labels, these kids are feeling more and more misunderstood and segregated from the rest of their peers. Over time, this is chipping away at their self-esteem and their confidence, and it's making them feel less trustworthy of the people who are there to actually support them and help them thrive. When we don't understand the reason behind our child's behaviors and emotional outbursts, we miss key factors in what your child is actually struggling with and what they actually need. This is why I created my course From Chaos to Calm: Foundations to Emotional Regulation. This will help you to understand exactly why your child's behaving the way they are, what is triggering their emotional dysregulation and causing them to get into these meltdowns or tantrums. I help to break down 5 fundamental pillars of emotional regulation, and when there's problems in any of these 5 pillars, that's the place you need to start giving them the most support. When we can start turning things around and giving our kids what they need and help building them skills, they feel more safe and connected with you. This helps them to learn the skills of emotional regulation and be able to handle life's ups and downs. This Mother's Day, I am offering my course at a 40% off discount. So to take advantage of this offer, you can find all the information in the description box below. So let's talk about what are these contributing factors that are affecting our kids' mental health and emotional resilience. So overcrowded classrooms. The average classroom today has about 20 to 30 kids. Now, if your child has specific needs and they need more support, a teacher's ability to give them that one-on-one attention is very limited. So if your child is struggling academically and they need more support, but the teacher in the classroom just doesn't have the capacity, which I completely understand, because having 20 to 30 kids in a classroom is so many kids that you need to attend to, that you need to support, that it makes it super unrealistic for teachers to be able to help each individual child. But when your child doesn't get that one-on-one attention that they actually need, they might feel more frustrated because they're not able to complete a task. They're not able to understand the problem at hand. Their struggles might also be overlooked because in an overcrowded classroom, it's hard to spot when a child is struggling, especially if they're really good at masking or they kind of keep to themselves. A teacher may not pick up on their struggles. Some kids need a little bit more support in order for them to feel connected, but with an overcrowded classroom, like I said, teachers don't have the capacity to give so much attention and focus to one child. They might start to feel misunderstood and segregated in that classroom setting. So feeling unnoticed, unimportant, and disconnected is just a recipe for emotional dysregulation, which is why we're seeing so many kids have emotional outbursts in the classroom. Another contributing factor is not having enough movement or sensory breaks. Young kids, they aren't built to just sit still for long periods of time, to sit in circle time, or to be sitting at a desk and just be doing work. They need to move, they need to fidget, because what movement does, it helps to fuel their attention span. If they're sitting stagnantly for long periods of time, they start to fidget in their seats because that's their way of regaining their energy and focus back. But this becomes disruptive, right? If they're sitting in their chair, they're fidgeting, they're poking the friend next to them, they're getting up from their seat, then they're not actually getting enough of that energy to fuel their brains again. And that seeking behavior that you're noticing in the classroom becomes more disruptive than it becomes helpful. So what kids really need is more built-in movement within their days. But here's the thing. When our kids are acting disruptive, when they're not listening, those are the kids that often get sent to the office. And as a consequence, when they get sent to the office, they end up having to stay there and miss things like recess time. But what do kids do at recess time? They run around, they're outside, they're getting fresh air, they're getting sunlight. So when we cut recess out, we're actually removing the thing that they need to help them regain their focus back so that they can learn. When we strip away their recess time, we strip away opportunities for them to play and be creative. And that's part of learning. Kids, especially when they have hyperactive types of behavior, they might have ADHD, they especially need to be going out for recess time to get in their movement. And the third contributing factor is prioritizing academic performance over emotional regulation. So there's this pressure to meet grade level standards for kids when they're at school, getting to make sure that they're sitting, doing their work, and achieving high grades. That is the priority when you send your kids to school. This leads to a mindset of compliance over compassion, right? We want our kids to comply, to be the good kid that sits at their desk and just focuses and gets their work done. But what if your child has a hard time doing that? What if your child is the kid that needs to move around, that needs to learn by having different visuals around the classroom, by pointing at different things, moving things to actually get them to learn? And what's barely taught in the classroom is emotional literacy and how to actually regulate our emotions. If your child's having a hard time focusing, they're often reprimanded for that, sent to the office because they're being too disruptive. But really what they need to be taught is, how do you start tuning into your body? What is your body actually trying to say to you in this moment that's causing you to get up from your seat and poke your friend and start talking really loud? We want our kids to actually learn to tune into their bodies and actually start being more aware of the emotions that come up within them. Because when we can start teaching our kids these things, they start to recognize them in the moment. They start to learn what it is that they're feeling and how to actually cope with it. We need to give them the tools and the strategies that are going to help them to regulate their nervous system when they're feeling unfocused, when they're feeling like their bodies are just like there's ants crawling over them and they just need to move around. We got to give our kids the right tools on what to do in these moments, because if we don't, this is why we're seeing bad behavior in kids acting out. So the question is, what can we do if we know that our kids are in school for 7-8 hours of the day and they're not getting the support they need to build their emotional regulation skills? Well, the truth is, you don't have to rely on school to teach your child these skills. These are foundational skills that can be taught right from home. So the first is to set a predictable and consistent routine in your home. This sets a stable, consistent environment for your child. They start to know what exactly to expect. They know exactly where boundaries are and things are not vague and wishy-washy, and that creates that security that they actually need to develop their emotional regulation. When we show up as parents consistently for our kids, this also helps them to know what to expect from us. It also helps them to feel like they belong somewhere. They feel seen and heard because they know exactly that if they show up a certain way, they know how you're going to respond. They feel safe in your arms. If there's a lot of emotions because they felt upset, they know that they can come to you because you've been consistent with them. You've shown them your love to them, that they know that they will be heard whenever those big emotions start to rise up in them. Number 2 is to set intentional time to connect as a family. So I know in this busy modern world, we are all moving fast paced. We're dropping our kids off to school, going to work, picking them up, coming home, making dinner, and everything is very go, go, go. But what kids really need is for us to slow things down for them. Life is already very fast paced. So when we intentionally slow time down for them and we actually spend quality time, where we interact with them, we connect with them, we're actually there, present. We're not trying to multitask and do 50 things at the same time. We're actually sitting on the floor with them, playing a game together, or we're spending time right before bed, cuddled up in the bed, talking about our day, asking each other questions. These are the moments of real connection. When our children feel connected, this is how they become more in tune with their emotions, and they can process their emotions so much better whenever they're feeling upset. And at the end of the night, they know that every night I sit with mom or dad in bed and I can tell them what went on in my day. That other kid at the playground, he pushed me and it made me feel really upset. And they can tell you this. This is going to help them to process those emotions rather than not, if they didn't have this opportunity to actually connect and talk with you, those moments would just pass them by. They won't actually think about how they felt in that moment, and they will continue on going through different situations in their life where they get upset with other kids, they blow up, and they don't know actually how to regulate themselves and handle these situations in a better way. Number 3 is to set up time to play, move, and rest for our kids. So like I said, fast-paced, right? Fast-paced lifestyle. And if we don't actually build in time where your kids can actually move around and get all that energy out, get deep pressures on their body, we're just letting them kind of sit around in a very stagnant modern day type of culture. If kids came home and they had it their way, most of them would just go straight to the couch, take out their iPad, and watch cartoons all day, play video games all day. So we need to now intentionally build in this playtime. We need to take them outside, play a sport, kick a ball, go to the local playground and get your kids to climb on the play structures, right? Play in the grass, sit on the grass, go have a picnic, do things outdoors and in nature. These are ways to help your child learn how to ground themselves, because why we're seeing so many kids have these emotional outbursts is that their energies are way up here and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know how to bring that energy back down. And the best way to do it is to be in tune with nature. Just think about it. When you go walk in nature after a stressful day, you feel at peace. You can hear the birds chirping, you can feel the wind blowing in your face, and that just helps to ease those anxieties that you're feeling, the overwhelm, the overstimulation, and it helps you to just feel grounded and closer to nature. That's the same thing for our kids. If they're always inside all day in a school, inside a classroom, they're inside when they get home after school, they're on their iPads in a digital world, they're not actually feeling real life. They're not feeling the grass. They're not breathing in fresh air. And this is going to make emotional regulation so much harder for them. Finally, to help your child build emotional resilience is through actual emotional coaching. This is a brand new concept. Nowhere in my childhood, if you were born anywhere in the 90s, even early 2000s, we didn't have parents who emotionally coached us. It just wasn't a thing. But the truth is, we all need people, we need adults who can help us to learn how to regulate our emotions, right? We don't just learn how to regulate our emotions all by ourselves. We learn how to handle big feelings of frustration and jealousy and anger by watching how other people handle it. So if you were brought up in an environment where your parents lashed out whenever they got upset, they were very reactive, you likely picked up that same type of behavior because that is emotional contagion. Emotions get passed on from one person to the next, right? Just think about it. If someone is in a really bad mood and you walk into that room, you can just feel the energy of their emotions, right? Because it's contagious. Though that's an energy that is just an aura in the room. And so you have to recognize that your children will feel your emotions if you're getting escalated and upset and reactive. And if they're struggling with handling their emotions, they need some coaching from you. You need to support them in processing those emotions and helping them to become more aware of their emotions. So this is where you help them to start naming it. If your child really doesn't have any kind of awareness of how they're feeling, all they go from is 0 to 100 within a split second, That means they don't have any awareness of what are those feelings inside of them. And that's where you need to start teaching them. So if they go from 0 to 100, you want to come back after they've calmed down and reflect with them. Saying something like, I know you were playing your toy and it collapsed and it made you feel really, really frustrated. And that's what made you start yelling and screaming and throwing things, right? That's the feeling of frustration. And I get it. I felt that too, right? So you want to help label the emotion. You want to help validate that the emotion itself is fine, right? We all feel those feelings of frustration, anger, and disappointment. And we want to normalize that for our kids. We don't want to blame them, shame them, make them feel guilty for having those feelings. Now, the difference though is we want to validate the emotions, but we don't always validate the behavior. If they are going to kick and punch and throw things, those behaviors are not okay. We're not validating those things. So it is okay to say, I understand you're feeling frustrated and it's okay to feel that way. But then you want to back that up and say, but it's not okay to hit and throw things when you're feeling this way. Now we need to give them coping tools. What can they do instead if they do start to feel this way? So if they start to feel frustrated, maybe they can grab a pillow and start shaking the pillow to get that frustration out rather than throwing toys all across the room. Maybe they can ask, I'm feeling very frustrated. I just need a big hug from you. If they can learn to verbalize what it is they actually want, that is a way better coping tool than being aggressive and being destructive at home. When your child feels emotionally safe at home, they have more tools that are going to help them out with the stressors that they feel at school. So they'll be better equipped at handling feelings of big emotions, and when they feel dysregulated, they'll be able to manage those much better so that they don't have big outbursts or misbehaviors at school. When we teach them how to listen to their bodies, how to advocate for their needs, they are then better equipped at school to ask for the help when they need it, to come to their teacher and say that, hey, I need a break right now because I'm just feeling too overwhelmed right now, or I'm feeling really frustrated because I can't understand this problem. I need your help. When we give our kids the right tools and the right scripts to help them speak up when they're feeling a certain way, this is going to help reduce those behaviors that we're seeing, because behaviors are always a form of communication. You have to remember that. I teach this to all the parents that work with me who come to me because their child has very challenging behaviors. Any behavior you see, whether it's melting down, big emotions, or them pushing back, that's all superficial behaviors that we see at the tip of an iceberg. But when we peel back the layers and we look underneath the water, what we really see is a child who's struggling. They don't have the great communication skills to ask for help. They don't have the proper awareness to know what it is they're actually feeling, right? They're struggling with executive functioning. So planning and organizing is really tough for them. So therefore, they get more frustrated when they get stuck on things. So when we teach them these tools on how to be more emotionally aware of themselves, we're actually giving them lifelong tools to help them out for the rest of their lives. So if you're wondering now, how do I actually then bring this awareness to my child? How do I actually teach them the skills of emotional regulation? In my course, From Chaos to Calm, Foundations to Emotional Regulation, I break everything down. Everything is in a step-by-step guide that's going to teach you exactly what is going on behind your child's behaviors, what's actually triggering them to have these meltdowns and outbursts in the first place, and what you need to start doing differently to support them. I give you resources and strategies that are going to help you learn what to say and what to do with your child in order to teach them how to be more aware of their emotions. I'm also going to give you the tools on how to be able to regulate with them, because it's very common for parents to be struggling with their own regulation, especially when their child is very dysregulated themselves. So learning about yourself, knowing how to stay calm, stay grounded in moments when your child is spiraling out of control is key in helping your child to build emotional regulation skills. This is all broken down in my course, and you can find all the information in the description box below. And for this Mother's Day, I'm giving you guys 40% off my entire course for lifetime access. So you want to take advantage of this offer before the sale ends. So again, you can find all the information in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out to reach more parents like yourself who need to learn this information. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.